Hey, what's up everybody, this is Muth24, and today I'm going to take a look at the first volume of Guardians of the Galaxy as part of this Marvel Now series. The title for this tradeback edition, or hardcover as it is Cosmic Avengers, and the whole Marvel Now series, to my understanding, is basically this attempt to make the stories more accessible to readers who maybe aren't familiar with some of the source content that they're putting into the new films. Now, I don't believe that this story is really going to play at all into the Guardians of the Galaxy film that's slated for release later this year, but they do a good job at the beginning of sort of prefacing the story of Star-Lord and getting readers familiar with the whole Guardians of the Galaxy setup. There's also some extra volumes in the back that are like stories focused. They're not necessarily origin stories, but they're stories focused just on one character or another. So they have one for Gamora, they have one for Rocket Raccoon, one for Drax, and one for Groot. And Star-Lord's story is basically just told through the main Guardians of the Galaxy comics here in the bulk of the compilation that you see before you. So I was always most excited about Guardians of the Galaxy with the Phase 2 Avengers films in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, mainly because it's so weird and different. And I think it's one of those things where once Thor became as popular as it did, it was sort of an opening of the floodgates for Marvel to do whatever they wanted with the weird stuff. So there was, the option to do Guardians of the Galaxy, the more cosmic stuff, more just weird, bizarre directions for the stuff. And I even think Thanos was a little bit more of a sort of a weird, bizarre alien territory, for lack of a better word, for these films to go into. So I did try and find the 2008 comic book arc of Guardians of the Galaxy, which I believe is what the film's going to be mostly based off of, which was the Realm of Kings, War of Kings storyline. But that one's really hard to find now, and or at least hard to find for a reasonable price. I mean, you can get the digital versions for like $12 a piece, but I personally prefer to have like physical copies. So I'll see if I can't track them down in some middle of nowhere bookstore someday. But anyways, for now, I'm fine with these new Guardians of the Galaxy comics. This is the first volume. The second one will be out sometime next month, I believe, and I'll pick that up when it releases. But basically, the story with this one, as I said, it starts off with Star-Lord's sort of origin story, like his backstory, and they do that like in a single volume. And they do it pretty well, where it's like, this is just about Star-Lord. We don't really need to focus on the other characters right now. We just need to give you sort of an understanding of who he is and how he operates and why he is the way he is in terms of his personality. Then it jumps forward to sort of the present day in the Marvel Universe. And I believe there's some tie-ins here with the last Guardians of the Galaxy comic book arc, because they mentioned that there was some, meeting they had with Tony Stark, and because of that, he has joined up with the Guardians for fun, basically. I mean, really, they just kind of shoehorned Tony Stark in there because Iron Man's popular right now, which is fine. I mean, his space Iron Man suit looks pretty cool and all. I didn't really feel like he needed to be there necessarily, but he does mesh pretty well with the other characters. And really, I think Stark being kind of shoehorned in there was one of my only real complaints with this graphic novel, is that, he's just sort of there. But as far as the rest of the story goes, they do have some tie-ins with Asgard, with some of the other alien species that they've talked about over the years, especially more recent stuff. And it's just really cool to see how the cosmic side of things operates, very different from the traditional superhero, Avengers, X-Men, Spider-Man type side of things. They do explain that there is a rule that people aren't supposed to go near Earth in this comic book arc, and that's sort of what springs the whole storyline into action, is that, you basically set up this rule of you're not supposed to go near Earth, and then someone's going to break that rule and cause a whole bunch of problems to erupt as a result. So, it's really cool to see the Guardians operate in the way that they do. They don't really, clash with each other at all in this. I assume in probably some of the old stuff they did just because they're such an odd collective of characters. But you get a lot from Star-Lord because he is really the main character of this comic arc, and there's also quite a bit of Rocket Raccoon doing his thing and being cool and shooting dudes up, which is always fun. Groot has kind of a really big highlight reel later in the graphic novel. He's not as important earlier on. Drax has, I guess, his cool action shots. You don't see a ton of him, but he is there. Gamora is the only one that I felt like they didn't do a whole lot with. Like, she does some cool stuff at the beginning, and they tap into her character a little bit there in, like, the first couple issues, and then she's just sort of there for the rest of it. And I really would like to see more of her, because I think all the Guardians members are really interesting, but she's one of the ones that I'm just not as familiar with, simply because I'm just getting into Guardians, and I'll be honest, Rocket Raccoon and Groot are my two favorites, far and away. But I'm hoping that the next volume does more for Drax and Gamora, because I felt like they kind of got the least time to develop and grow as characters, or at least to shine as characters in this storyline. Because maybe the whole point of this isn't necessarily to, develop them more as characters, but more to, give them their time in the spotlight. So if they do that more in the second volume, I'd be perfectly fine with it. But just the front art here, I think, is great. Get all the characters there. It's cool. On the back, we have a shot of Rocket Raccoon doing his thing, and a sort of overview of the story arc that's therein. This one is rated T, if you will. I think it's actually kind of good they've started doing those ratings on the comic books and graphic novels, at least for the trade backs and stuff, because, some kids could pick up a Deadpool comic and not realize that it's adult content for good reason. But yeah, no, the artwork in this I think is really well done. It's kind of very typical of what Marvel's doing now, but I think it looks nice, and you have some really cool, splash pages like that, and they divide up the panels interesting and different. And then you have some of the artwork of just different characters. Like, there's the front, and there's Gamora in her more classic costume. Gamora does not wear her classic outfit in this. She wears a more practical costume there, and it sort of seems like they're doing a standardized set of outfits for the characters now. They had the blue military outfits like you see there with Rocket Raccoon. That's what they used to wear in the last major comic book arc, or the one from 2008 or whatever that was, the War of Kings one. But anyways, I really do like the way the art is handled in this volume, and they've got some different art styles for the single character stories. Like, Drax's here is sort of like almost like an Art Deco style, which is kind of cool. And then for Groot's, it's almost like a sepia tone for most of it, sort of like a Wild West type appearance. And then Rocket Raccoon's is much more colorful, which I suppose suits his personality well enough. And then for Gamora's, it's more, I don't know, it's like more highly detailed and more focused on like the action and like swinging of blades and explosions and stuff there. Almost reminds me of like Star Wars to a certain extent, which, I mean, the whole Guardians of the Galaxy thing is very Star Wars-y anyways, but yeah, I don't know, just the presentation of that one kind of reminded me more of Star Wars. But you do also have like a showing of all the variant artwork covers for different comic book shops and comic exclusives and stuff like that. But anyways, I really enjoyed this first volume. I'm definitely planning on picking up the second one when that comes out. It should be interesting to see where they go with this whole new Guardians storyline. And I'm super excited for the film to come out. That was the one I was most excited for with these Phase 2 films. So, anyways, if you like some different weird space-agey adventure type stuff, definitely give it a try. I really enjoyed how much it was focused on the characters. There's plenty of action therein, and lots of sort of underhanded dealings going on behind the scenes, but yeah, this is mainly about the characters, and I think they did a good job with Stark and Star-Lord, and even Groot and Rocket. Like I said, I would have liked to see more out of Gamora and Drax, but I'm thinking that hopefully they'll do more with those two in the next issue. So, yeah, I recommend it. I really enjoyed it. And that's pretty much it for this review. And with that, I will see you guys next time.